Yo, football fans. Big D back with our weekly edition of the Big D podcast. But before I bring in Alex, please subscribe, like, and share the Spunky Spectrum Sports YouTube page. See all my content: football, baseball, golf, swimming, NASCAR. Also, check out the Big D podcast on Spotify and Apple. So back from waddling after his Miami Dolphins pulled off an amazing comeback against the Baltimore Ravens. Alex, have you recovered from said game yesterday?
Dylan, I don't think I have. I'm still kind of shaking a little bit. I've been watching NFL Network all morning, just reliving the moments. I will say, greatest football game I think I have ever seen in my entire life. So it's going to take a little while to recover from that, probably up until Sunday when we have to play Buffalo. But no, I think no is the answer. I'm still hyped.
Well, for those of you who didn't see the game yesterday, Miami was down 21 points on multiple occasions, including 35-14, and then all of a sudden Miami finished the game scoring 28 of the last 31 points. Tua finding Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle. In fact, Tua threw 6 touchdowns, which tied a franchise record by a couple guys you might have heard of. I don't remember those names in Dolphin lore.
Dan Marino and a Bob Greasy, 2 Hall of Famers. No big deal, right?
Yeah. So oddly enough, for Miami, the game did not start off well because you gave up a 103-yard kickoff return to Devin Duvernay. So what were you thinking when the Ravens returned the opening kick?
Obviously, you sit down on the couch at 1:00 and before 15 seconds come off the clock, you're already down 7-0. It's not a great feeling to have, but I knew it was a long football game. I knew that there was plenty of football to come, and boy, I did not expect what was coming after that. That's for sure. But definitely, yeah, not a great feeling to give up a 103-yard kickoff return for a touchdown right out of the gate.
Hey, at least your defense didn't have to be on the field at that point.
Yeah. I mean, at least for the first half, we didn't really want our defense on the field at all, to be honest, because it was a rough first half, man. It was a rough first half.
Yeah, Lamar running and throwing, threw for 318, 3 scores, nine rushes for $119, another score. Found Bateman and Mark Andrews were big. But how about the Miami comeback in the second half, especially the fourth quarter? Like, it seemed like Tua was hitting haymakers, like he's finding Tyreek, he's finding Waddle all over the field. I mean, when the game was 35-21 and Tua found Tyreek for that first bomb, I knew at that point Miami was going to win the game.
Yeah, I was obviously, when you sign a guy or trade for a guy like Tyreek Hill in the offseason, those are the plays that you're expecting. Those are the plays you're looking for. Not only did we get one of them, but we got two of them, if you will. But it's where do you start when you start talking about this football game? I will tell you, I'm going to be completely transparent. I'm going to be completely honest with you, Dylan. I was sitting there on my couch at halftime, throwing some pizza rolls in the toaster oven, thinking, I'm not sure, and it hurts me to even say this, but sitting there at halftime, I'm thinking, we have all of these weapons. The offenses look suspect. The defense can't stop anything. Is Tua the guy? Maybe what people are saying about him could be true. And then Tua Tagovailoa did exactly what Miami Dolphins fans have been asking him to do, exactly what the NFL media and fans of other teams have said he can't do. Tuscaloosa Tua came out to shine in the fourth quarter of that football game. 2 bombs to Tyreek Hill, an absolute beautiful touchdown pass to Mike Gesicki in the back of the end zone, who went jump man for that ball. The game-winning touchdown to Jaylen Waddle, the spin move on the touchdown to River Craycraft. Tua just
River Craycraft. That sounds like a fisherman, not a football player.
Yeah, I mean, he was fishing touchdowns yesterday. I mean, Tua did everything that football fans said he couldn't do, everything that Mike McDaniel and company said he could do. Dolphins fans have been saying he can do. It all came to shine yesterday in the fourth quarter, specifically of that football game. You know, I have to give a massive shout out to Lamar Jackson, because if it wasn't for the absolute heroics of Tua Tagovailoa in that fourth quarter, Lamar Jackson would be the story across the NFL yesterday. I mean, he played a ridiculous football game. And the biggest thing about Lamar is, you know, he can run. The 79-yard touchdown run, you know, it's something that you hate to see when you're playing against it, but you have to respect at the same time, because there's not very many players in the history of the NFL who can make a play like that. But his throwing yesterday, Lamar's gotten criticism for you know, his accuracy, for how well he can throw the ball. He was putting dots out there on the field. I mean, the touchdown to Rashad Bateman, when he shook Xavier Howard out of his cleats practically, was on the money, led him in stride. It seemed like every throw Lamar was making, whether it was to Mark Andrews, was just an absolute precision pass. I mean, Lamar played out of his mind yesterday. He would have been the story across the NFL if it wasn't, like I said, for Tua's heroics. But, you know, it's got to be that's why we love football. I mean, games like that, when it's just an absolute, just historical moment, it's fun to watch. It's why we love this game.
So, what was your instantaneous reaction when Waddle caught the game-winning touchdown? Because I hear it destroyed the internet.
Yeah, there's a video that I kind of got blackmailed with. I sent it to a buddy. He said, if you don't post this video, I'm going to. So it was a little bit against my best judgment, but there is a video. I'm not sharing it. I already shared it once. It's on Twitter. You can find me. But definitely did a little bit of waddling, did a lot of bit of yelling, and there might be a couple of expletives, you know, a couple beep words in that video as well. But you know, it's just, like I said, it's the most exciting football game I've seen in my entire life. It's the greatest victory that the Dolphins had in my entire life, and it's just a culmination of everything the Dolphins fans have been hoping that this team can provide, and it all came to light in the fourth quarter, really, of that football game. So I mean, it was just pure passion, pure joy, pure happiness. 26 years worth of waiting for a moment like that. So I don't take it back.
Did you put it on TikTok?
It's not on TikTok. You know, it's maybe it'll make its way there eventually, but I left it for the Twitter world, at least for now. But you know, I know we got to move on. There's a lot of stuff we got to talk about, but I just, you know, it's Tua Tagovailoa, 6 touchdown passes, like you said, equals Dan Marino, equals Bob Greasy for most in franchise history. The Dolphins are the first team in NFL history to have a player record 400 plus passing yards, 5 plus passing touchdowns in the same game as 2 teammates receiving for over 170 plus yards and 2 plus receiving touchdowns. It's one of those crazy stats on a Thursday night at 9:43 p.m. But, you know, it's a crazy stat that is just something that you have to really just kind of be in awe of, because I think that's what Ravens fans definitely were. The NFL definitely was. And the Miami Dolphins are here, baby. But, you know, enough about my team. You know, the Miami Dolphins weren't the only Florida team making some noise yesterday. Let's go a little bit up north to Duval County, where your Jacksonville Jaguars put on quite the show yesterday, didn't they? Keeping the Indianapolis Colts to a goose egg. Talk to me about that, Dylan.
Well, the Indianapolis Colts can never win in Jacksonville. I don't care if it's Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck, Jacoby Brissett, Matt Ryan, Philip Rivers, or Carson Wentz. They're not winning in Duval County, because for some reason, like Tom Brady's kryptonite for all those years was either Miami or Denver, or Bill Belichick's kryptonite was Miami. The Indianapolis Colts kryptonite is Jacksonville, Florida. Get them away. The Colts do not want any part of Jacksonville, Florida. You look at week 1, Week 1, 2020, Jags beat the Colts for only win the year. Last season, Week 18, guess what team knocked the Colts out of the playoffs?
Jacksonville Jaguars. The team on
Meow!
the right now. I have to ask Dylan. I mean, I know obviously being a Jaguars fan and knowing that the Colts struggle in Jacksonville, you had to have at least been somewhat optimistic going into the game just based on the history alone. But, with Jonathan Taylor coming to play, Matt Ryan is probably one of the better quarterbacks that from that carousel of quarterbacks the Colts have had since the Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck days. Even though the Colts were banged up, even though, the game was in Jacksonville, how confident were you going into that game that the Jaguars were going to take it? And if I told you that the Jaguars would have won that game 24-0, would you believe me before kickoff?
I wouldn't. I was confident the Jaguars would win, but nobody would have predicted a shutout.
Yeah.
But Jacksonville's last shutout, I believe, was 2017 against
the Indianapolis Colts?
Yeah, I believe so.
We'll have to have our research department back you up on that one, but we could put that in the comments section on the Spunky Spectrum Sports Network, which we did not put at the beginning of this show.
By the way, Alex, I hate to say it, but Matt Ryan's dust. He's like he could play golf with Big Ben, Phil Rivers, and all those old guys. Matt Ryan looks like he's about 95. He did not look good yesterday. The Cole offense line, which looked like a strength the last several years. Matt Ryan was 16-30 for 195 and 3 picks while being sacked 5 times. And meanwhile, that other guy from Clemson, I don't remember his name. I think his initials are TL. I'm confused.
Goldilocks? Is that who you're thinking of?
No. My mom calls him Fabio, but Trevor Lawrence went 25-30 for 235, 2 scores for a 95.3 QBR. Not bad.
Not bad. 5 incompletions on the day. You can never be upset about that.
And to me, you know what helped Jacksonville yesterday was if you would have told me the Jags would have outgained the Colts on the ground, I would have said, you're crazy.
Yeah.
But Jackson ran the ball. I mean, neither team ran the ball great. I mean, Indianapolis only ran the ball 13 times. The Jags ran 37, but we beat the Colts on the ground. And Indianapolis needs a strong running game because the Colts didn't have anybody really with Michael Pittman out. So I knew the Jags could stay even or ahead on the ground game. They were going to win. And Jackson's got monsters on the end with Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker. Oh, boy. How would you like to stop those guys for the next couple years? Josh Allen, a menace, couple more sacks yesterday. The defense playing so well.
I mean, wasn't this the same Trayvon Walker that you weren't too psyched about when it was draft day, Dylan?
Don't remind me. Hey, and Aiden Hutchinson sacked Carson Wentz 3 times yesterday.
But you absolutely nailed it when it came to Carson Wentz because, I mean, obviously I was a little occupied from the 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock slate. But, just based on catching some replays and catching some things back, I mean, I saw 1 sack that you guys had on on Matt Ryan, where he folded like a lawn chair. I mean, his mobility, he looks slower than Tom Brady when it comes to his mobility. I mean, obviously throwing the 3 interceptions. I mean, you got to be happy winning the turnover battle 3-0. I mean, having that clean level of football is something that I know your coaching staff is always going to love. 24-0. The fact, like you said, you outrushed Jonathan Taylor. I mean, there's probably a lot of people who lost in their survivor pools this week, I'll say, because I lost my.
You mean the people who didn't use the Colts in week 1?
Exactly. You're right about that. I mean, I even lost in my eliminator because I had Cleveland over the Jets, which is a completely another game that we haven't even mentioned yet. But
Good Lord, how the Browns lost that game, but we'll leave it at that. Well, we may talk about it, but we'll see.
Yeah. But I mean, just an absolute clinic, honestly, from the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, if I'll tell you what, if I'm an Indianapolis Colts fan right now, I am sweating because we are 0-1. I mean, you just got shut out by the Jacksonville Jaguars, who, I'm sorry, whether it's in Duval County or not. I mean, I think every Colts fan at least had somewhat of an expectation or a belief that they would win that game yesterday. And to lose 24-0 to the Jacksonville Jaguars, I mean, I'm putting the respect on Jacksonville. I'm giving you all the credit, but boy, I am scared if I'm a Colts fan, and I want Michael Pittman healthy as soon as possible.
And maybe I want a new quarterback and coach.
Yeah, I mean, all of a sudden the AFC South. I mean, you've got
Wait a minute. We're the only team with a win in all division.
Yeah, I know. I mean, after week 2, the Jaguars on top of that. That's exactly where I was going. The Jaguars are on top of the AFC South. I mean, as of the time where we are recording this podcast, the Miami Dolphins are on top of the AFC East with Buffalo playing tonight. But it's the NFL, man. Crazy stuff can happen, and it's been an exciting season, even though it's only 2 weeks in so far.
Okay, so besides all teams, quickly, what game stood out the most for you yesterday?
Ah, man, there's so many to pick from. I would have to say, I think the biggest one for me has got to be the Cowboys Bengals. I mean, Cooper Rush taking on Joe Burrow. We saw the disappointment from week 1 in the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow obviously having the 6 turnover game. I think everyone going up against the Dallas Cowboys team who just lost their starting quarterback, I think everyone was expecting a bounce back game from Joe Burrow and company yesterday. And the fact that, yes, it was home, it was the Dallas Cowboys stadium, but having to rely on your backup quarterback without Dak Prescott, playing against a team who was in the Super Bowl last season, I mean, it was just credit to the Cowboys, credit to Cooper Rush, because the man played a great football game. And I don't know where I'm thinking if I'm Bengals fans at this moment either, because you're sitting at 0-2. You don't have the easiest schedule because you won the division last year. You were a Super Bowl team, so you've got a tough strength of schedule this upcoming season. I mean, I'm a little bit nervous if I'm Bengals fans, and I'm definitely celebrating this win if I'm Cowboys fans.
I don't think Cincinnati should be worried. I mean, yeah, the offensive line's an issue, but Joe Burrow came back from appendectomy, so you knew he'd be a little rusty. Bengals are fine. They're still the class of that division. I mean, Baltimore's secondary looked like mincemeat in the second half against your Dolphins. Pittsburgh may or may not change quarterbacks by the time Thursday night comes around. And the Browns always choke.
You're right.
But you know what might have been the game, maybe even crazier than your Dolphins game? How about Arizona Vegas? Because it looked like Arizona Colts were going to start 0-2, and everybody was going to say Cliff Kingsbury can't coach, Kyler Murray can't play. Well, how about that performance, the fourth quarter in Las Vegas yesterday? Because that was Kyler Murray in a hostile environment, basically going and putting his team on his back and maybe saving Arizona's season.
Absolutely.
Because the Raiders got up 20-0, and then Kyler just made play after play. Found great doors for a 5-yard touchdown. And then after Raider field goal, which put him up 16, the Cardinals needed 2 touchdowns, 2-point conversion, and 2 2-point conversions. Touchdown number 1, check. Touchdown number 2, check. Which took like an hour. End of the game took like an hour and a half. And then on the second 2-point conversion, I don't think I've ever seen a play from the 2-yard line take longer than Kyler Murray's scamper into the end zone. That play took an hour. That play took forever, and then Arizona got a 2-point conversion. Oh yeah, and in overtime, Isaiah Simmons caused a fumble on Hunter Renfrow, and then Byron Murphy scooped and scored. And then for a minute, I thought he almost Deshaun Jackson when he let go of the ball.
Yeah.
in Texas Stadium. And I'm like, oh no, did he just let go of the ball on the 1 yard line? But touchdown, Cardinals win and potentially save the season, because now everybody's 1-1 in the NFC West. So a big game for you, big comeback win for Arizona, and maybe an even bigger game week 3 hosting the Rams in Glendale.
Absolutely. I mean, I just want to touch on those 2-point conversions again, because I mean, you mentioned the Kyler Murray where he was running for his life. I mean, he looked like Bo Jackson in the old Tecmo Bowl games where you could just run all around the field and no one could ever catch him. I mean, that 2-point conversion and then hitting AJ Green in the back of the end zone with an absolute dart on that first 2-point conversion or on the second 2-point conversion, I'm sorry, was absolutely beautiful. I mean, the defense, Kyler Murray obviously mounted the comeback against the Raiders, but the defense really stepped in and saved the day in overtime. I mean, I think you definitely matched me there with another fantastic finish. I mean, this week was full of fantastic finishes, but shout out to the Arizona Cardinals, Cliff Kingsbury, Kyler Murray and company taking down the Las Vegas Raiders, who now sit at 0-2 in a division where obviously was the talk of the town in the NFL going into this season. Now you have the Raiders sitting at 0-2, the Denver Broncos, who lost to Seattle week 1 and squeaked out a game again this season, do not look like the football team we expected them to be. Kansas City still looking strong. And, the Chargers, you never know what's going to happen with the Chargers, man. They seem to be the most unpredictable team in the NFL. But it's, this division might not be looking as mighty as we might necessarily thought. But, there's been so many games. There's been so many fantastic performances this season and this week in particular. But there's one performance who I know you are not happy about. And one thing that I know you, one of our favorite segments on this show is the weekly rants. And I know you have a weekly rant that you are all ready for. So there's a certain man in Atlanta, Georgia, who is disappointing Dylan, and he wants to rant about it. Dylan, the floor is yours.
Think back to, do you remember the 2021 NFL draft, Alex?
I sure do.
Who was the number 4 pick? Who was the first-time quarterback taken in that draft behind Trevor, Zach Wilson, and Trey Lance?
A player from the University of Florida Gator football team, Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, and he's supposed to catch passes, right?
He sure is.
Well, what have the Atlanta Falcons done the first 2 weeks in giving Kyle Pitts some help? Because somebody explained to me how he's become the biggest decoy in NFL history. He was the number 4 pick in 2021. I'm just saying, same draft class. Ja'Marr Chase, we've seen what he can do. Jaylen Waddle, we've seen what he can do with your Dolphins. But Kyle Pitts has gone incognito. In week 1 against the Saints, week one, Kyle Pitts caught 2 passes for 19 yards. Yesterday in Los Angeles, guess how many passes Kyle Pitts caught? 2 for 19 yards. Somebody explain to me how to believe can Kyle Pitts only have 2 catches for 19 yards? And I hear Arthur Smith saying it's not fantasy football. You're trying to win the game, blah, 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 blah. You know what? If you're using Kyle Pitts as the biggest decoy in NFL history, you're a bleeping moron. You should have been coached in the NFL. You should be an offensive coordinator with the Tennessee Titans. Hand the ball to Derrick Henry. I'm just saying. If you've got a weapon, let's see. What did the Miami Dolphins do yesterday? They didn't give the ball to the 4th-string wide receiver. Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle caught everything. What did Justin Jefferson do week 1 against the Packers? He caught everything. What is Cooper Kupp doing most weeks? Catching everything. Why are the Atlanta Falcons not using Kyle Pitts? You're not going anywhere this year. Marcus Mariota is not winning a Super Bowl. And yes, Drake London's a really good young player. But Kyle Pitts is the best player on your freaking football team. And if he's not, and trust me, he might not be on my fantasy team, but he's on a lot of people's fantasy, best ball, dynasty, redraft teams. And why is Kyle Pitts only having 4 catches for 30 yards for the first 2 games. If he doesn't at least triple his output against Seattle next week, somebody should be fired. Somebody should be fired. You can't fire the quarterback, so maybe a change there. But somebody's got to be fired. Otherwise, you're wasting Kyle Pitts' career. You can't waste a top 5 talent. Why the Atlanta Falcons keep wasting? I mean, you could argue they wasted the last few years of Matt Ryan's career because they didn't give him help until it was too late. And now Kyle Pitts is basically being used as a decoy. Somebody explain them apples.
It doesn't make sense. I mean, I completely agree with you. I mean, the fact that the Atlanta Falcons had Kyle Pitts as their 4th most productive target yesterday, behind a guy who I have to look up his first name, Kaderil Hodge, was more productive.
What the heck is Kaderil Hodge, please?
And Olamide Zaccheaus, who, has been a name that floats around the NFL circles for a couple of seasons. But the fact that Kyle Pitts, 2 for 19, has been less productive than that, and the fact that you're missing Calvin Ridley on first off, a bogus suspension, but either way, a full year-long suspension, you lose your top receiving target. Obviously, you don't have Julio Jones in Atlanta anymore. You draft Kyle Pitts to be that guy. You draft him to be your star. Obviously, yes, Drake London, he's a fantastic rookie receiver. He's going to be the main wide receiver target. But Kyle Pitts isn't a blocking tight end. Yes, he's a decent blocking. Yes, he can block a guy, but you draft Kyle Pitts because of his ability to catch the football. I mean, it's mind-blowing to me. It's shocking, I think, to Falcons fans and really, like you said, fantasy owners. I mean, you got to get that man the football. And if you're really trying to win football games, if you're saying it's not about fantasy football, if you're trying to win football games, you should probably be getting the ball to one of your best players.
How about these stats? Kyle Pitts has been on the field for 88% of the Falcons snaps, 57 routes on 69 Mariota dropbacks, but got 6 targets for 438. What kind of crap is that?
I can't answer that question for you, Dylan. I mean, these guys are getting paid millions of dollars to make these decisions. And it seems like you and me are kind of scratching our heads over here thinking, I think I might even be able to come up with a better game plan than that.
Maybe these guys should be playing Madden more often during the week.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what kind of target? I mean, you see the Dolphin wide receivers getting like ridiculous target shares. Devontae Adams got a ridiculous target share in week 1. But Kyle Pitts can't get anything.
And the crazy thing about it too is, yes, you're playing against the reigning Super Bowl champions in the LA Rams. You're down big early in the game, all of a sudden 28-3, a number that the Atlanta Falcons are very familiar with, by the way. But all of a sudden, you start mounting this big comeback. It looks like, wait, are the Atlanta Falcons finally going to redeem themselves from the 28-3? Are they going to have their own 28-3 comeback themselves? You don't have necessarily the most reliable running game in the NFL. Cordarrelle Patterson's a decent little player, but it's not like you have a Derrick Henry or a Jonathan Taylor back there to really carry your offense. I mean, it just blows my mind how you're mounting this comeback. You're having the ability to make these big plays. You're having some sort of success throwing the football. I mean, at least enough to come back on the reigning Super Bowl champions and make it a close football game. And you don't give the ball to your stars when the game is on the line. It's just, I don't have the answer for it. I hope the Atlanta Falcons coaching staff has the answer for it, because it's going to be a long season and there's going to be fans calling for head coach heads by the end, and not even by the end of this season, about halfway through this season if things stay the same.
Yeah, please give Kyle Pitts more targets. Otherwise, let somebody else coach, because I can figure out a way of getting Kyle Pitts the ball. I'll take that guy on my team.
Yeah.
Now I feel like you yesterday.
Oh. NFL, man, it's we live it, we love it, and it's fun. I'm so happy football is back. It's so great to be on these podcasts talking with you about the crazy events of week 2, week 1, week 3 coming up at the NFL season, man.
Now only I have to win the guillotine league because you're eliminated.
Yeah, I am out. Unfortunately, my championship run last season did not carry over into this season. But I'm rooting for you for the rest of the season. You also, I'm gonna be a man about it. You also took me down on DraftKings as well this week. So congratulations on that win as well.
Be honest, it was a crappy week cash wise because I think it was like 120 something was the cash line. Like everybody, like if you didn't play Amon-Ra St. Brown
Yep.
cash, you probably lost. Like the Dolphins Ravens game went bananas, but that was a great tournament game. I played cash and lucky I beat you. I won my head to heads and double-ups, but it was a bad week scoring wise for cash.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I had my Tyreek Hill, but you matched me with the Amon-Ra, and I had a couple goose eggs on my team that really didn't help. Albert O from Denver got a goose egg. DJ Chark, the Detroit Lions scored 36 points, but they all went to the guy on your side of the lineup with Amon-Ra. So no love for Chark week, Chark bait, but it's all right. I'll get you next week.
All right. Thanks for hopping on, Alice. We wish you Dolphins well as they host the Buffalo Bills on Sunday. My Jags are off to SoFi for a Week 3 matchup with Justin Herbert and the LA Chargers. So hopefully when we talk next week, we'll be talking a couple more wins.
Absolutely. Pleasure being here as always. And Fins all the way up this week, Dylan.